Next question, Senator Smith. What are your thoughts on the federal minimum wage, and do you feel it needs to be raised?
The federal government has zero responsibility in determining what some employer decides to pay his employee, period. I hope everybody in here making $10 an hour goes outside and makes $100 an hour. I mean, if we're going to raise it, why don't we raise it to $1,000 an hour if we're going to tinker with it? Come on. This is exactly what's wrong with America. Let the free market determine. If Burger King's paying $10 an hour to some kid and McDonald's is paying $10.50, get down there and work at McDonald's and get the higher wage. This is competition. This is America. We don't dictate how much employers pay employees. Now, I know it's a political expedient thing to say. Be a little nervous. Well, you know, people are. Look, come on. If your son or daughter is working at McDonald's or some fast food place, we hope they're going to maybe rise up the rung there, or perhaps go somewhere else. But maybe they're making a little extra money for college. But it's the employer and the employee who determine that, and nobody else. I will not support any increase in the minimum wage mandated by the federal government. But I certainly would hope that the wages go up, because we get the tax burden off the businesses, so they can make more money, so they can pay their employees more. You want the federal government to have more regulations and more money, you want your employees to have it. And you talk to any employer, and he tell you the same thing. Cut my regulations, get the government off my back, and let me produce what I can produce, and I'll pay my employees more.
Yeah, more tinkering by the federal government in the affairs of the private sector are not called for here. But again, we have to come back, and this is where communication is required. We have to come back to the American people if we're going to win the general election. One of us is going to win the primary. And then we have to defeat Gene Shinkin. And they're going to be telling people that the government is here to raise your wages. We have to rebut that. And if we're accused of being heartless and not being concerned about, there's about a fifth of the people who earn minimum wage who really are under financial pressure. About 4/5 are not. They are second earners, they're family members, they're teenagers. We have to address that approximate 1/5 of people who are under very serious financial pressure. Bob mentioned some of the things we need to raise wages. If we had a stronger private economy and more money flowing into the profits of businesses, they would be able to pay people more. So that's a part of the solution. But we also have an extremely inefficient welfare system in this country, and we're not going to get rid of that overnight. When you look at our welfare system compared to that in Europe, more of our welfare dollars are fragmented through sticky bureaucratic fingers, which is one of the problems of our federal government having so many. We have 57 different worker training programs at my last count, and the complexity of these programs, flowing down through the states and then down to local government sometimes and down to the people, wastes an extraordinary sum of money. So we could take our existing welfare system that helps people who are earning minimum wage, who might need there are various kinds of help that we do want to provide in a caring society. We are not going to eliminate our safety net here in this country, but we need to make a far more efficient safety net that costs less money by reducing the insane fragmentation and complexity of our program, more like Europe does. And for one example, just send the money straight to the person instead of these complex systems. It saves money, it gets more money to the person who needs help, shows our heart, and cuts taxes and cuts spending all at the same time. So we've got to come back when problems like this are brought to us in debates in the general election. We cannot come across as heartless. We've got to show that we care about people, that we want a safety net that works, and that it's going to work more efficiently and save money and deal with our budget deficit all at the same time. And this is somewhat similar to my charter school bill. Higher quality, lower costs. We need to show Americans how Republicans can do this. That's what I'm about.
Senator Smith is using his first rebuttal challenge. You have 1 minute.
Well, it's not really a rebuttal, just an addition. I think what we need to understand here is we need a little truth, if you will, truth in lending. Tell the American people the truth instead of playing games. I mean, Jim just talked about sending more money down the stream. Look, it's your money. They take your money away from you. Leave it here. I don't want to send it to Washington and have them streamline it back. I want to leave it here. I'll tell you what's heartless. I'll tell you what's really heartless. is when you tell somebody, whether it's a woman who can't have the same doctor she had while she's pregnant again for her third child, she's told she can't have that doctor or go to that hospital that she went to, that's heartless. Let me tell you something. And when you tax a business so much that they cannot pay their employees a fair wage, that's heartless. Let's put the heartless where it belongs. It's not on us. I'm not appearing heartless. I want the people to understand that what's heartless is what they're doing to us on the left. They take our money. When they take your money, they control you. They take your values. They take everything. They control you. Here's your money back. We now have your values. We now have you eating out of our hands. You, Merrimack, we're going to take this money. We're going to give you all this money to set up this nice highway or to maybe a special program in school. And then and then after 4 or 5 years, we're going to take it away from you. And then you're stuck. And you have to be weaned off of it. We need to explain this to the American people. And I know we're not going to win the left on this. That's why we defeat the left. Let me go back to my point. Beat them. Do not sit down and talk to them and accommodate them. Go out, have your debate, take your vote, and if you lose, get back up off the floor, and tomorrow we have another election and we get enough votes to win. People have heard me say this, so I apologize for those who've heard it. I used to debate Ted Kennedy all the time on a number of issues. He'd call me at 10 o'clock at night and he'd say, I'm going to kick your tail tomorrow on the floor of the Senate, but would you mind telling me how long you're going to speak? Because I follow you and I want to plan my day. And I said, sure, I'm going to speak for 30 minutes or whatever. But what I'm telling you, when you debated the guy, he stood for something. And the squishy middle does not get the job done. You got to stand up for what you believe in. Do not leave your principles at the door. So when I'm talking to people in business or anybody else, even the left, I'm going to say, you're the heartless ones. I'm not the heartless ones. I don't want to appear anything. I want you to stop being heartless. I want you to stop taking the money from these people so that they can't pay these businesses so they can't pay their employees. And that's the right approach. That's the American approach. And that's what we have to do. It's an educational process, and we're not doing it because we're playing and tinkering around in the middle. It's one thing to reach across the aisle. It's another thing to race across the aisle and embrace them. When's the last time you heard the left come over our way?
Never.
Never. Heard it? Remember when Roberts messed up the Supreme Court, messed up the decision on Obamacare? Oh, he was praised. He was a wonderful man. Oh, what a wonderful man he was. He was wrong, but he did it. How about it was the other way around? You ever hear anything about that? You ever hear anything about that? Oh, no. Of course not. Because that's the mindset that we have. And we have to break it. And the only way you're going to break it, and I get passionate about this, is you've got to tell the truth. You've got to look the people right in the eye and say, if you want to lose your country, if you want to be ruled by the masses, by these people who control your money, these bureaucrats in Washington, these nameless, faceless people who let veterans die who serve their country. You want to be served by those people, then keep electing the people that put them in place. That's what's going to happen, and we're not going to change it until we throw them all out of office that are doing it. You're not going to throw Pelosi out because she's got a liberal district. But we can beat Shaheen. 11 of the last 12 U.S. Senate races in New Hampshire have been won by a Republican. The only one who won was Jean Shaheen. Don't believe this garbage that a conservative can't beat her. That's not true. A conservative can beat her and will beat her if you nominate a conservative.
GrokTV.